train to the plastic underground. Approaching the station, please stand away from the platform edge. Alright, let's do this one last time. Well, for this year anyway. We're going to do lots of other stuff next year. But, yeah, so last video of the year. I recently found this file and I thought, like, hey, that would be pretty fun to print and paint. And I'm a pretty huge Spider-Man fan. Got a bunch of Spider-Man stuff. But I don't have a Miles, so I found this file. It came with all these pieces, so you can make your own version. And I couldn't decide which one I wanted to do, so I printed everything. And I watch a bunch of painting channels and stuff, but I think one that I would mention that I watch the most is probably Ground Effects. He is a fantastic painter and always inspires me to paint more, so shout out to him. But he had a video that I recently just kind of watched, was like adding magnets to stuff. He does it for like shipping and moving and that kind of stuff. But I've never done magnets in a 3D print like this before, so I thought like this would be a pretty good place to start. So obviously the first thing I did is I just kind of go through and I make sure everything is sanded and smoothed, make sure everything fits properly. That's very important. Don't paint stuff and then find out that, like, oh, the support is too thick on the head and it won't fit in the hole. I've definitely not done that before. So, but yeah, so I ordered these super small, really strong magnets on Amazon. I forget the actual measurement of these, but yeah, so I already had holes in the model for drainage for the resin, but I just made them a little bit wider with just a stone bit on my Dremel, and then just add a little bit of super glue. And then I glue those into place. It's not as easy as you think, or it's exactly as irritating as it looks, if I'm being honest. But it's totally worth it. Some things are just too small for magnets, like the hands and stuff. And I'll show you kind of what I did with those later. But yeah, I'm just kind of showing you how I did the shoe and the foot, or the ankle, first, and then, yeah. But yeah, so I glued those in place, and if you have any chips or breaks or anything like that, I just take a little cup of the same resin that I used to print, and then pop it in there, and then hit it with the UV flashlight, and there you go. That is one foot with a magnet. You can see it's pretty strong magnet. But yeah, so I did that for both feet, both heads, and I think that was it. But yeah, so I'm just going through here now, and I'm just spraying some of this flat black on everything. This was kind of annoying because this can is ultra matte, and when it was dry, it was like satin. So I don't know if it was just because like I did such a great job at sanding It made it so smooth that, that's how it dried. But I wanted the suit to be matte, and I wanted to add gloss black highlights to certain parts of the suit. But I would go through and paint all the black stuff black, and then for the jacket, I paint that white. The jacket and the sweater is red and teal, so I wanted a nice light base coat for that. But then, I just put some red in my airbrush and just keep building up layers. Then I used some silly putty and masked off the red hoodie underneath. And then I put many layers of this teal on top. Then I can go through here with the hands and paint his fingertips red. There is a lot of small detail painting on this model. And it's kind of one of those things where it's like, it's a lot of work, but that's the kind of stuff that I enjoy. I enjoy painting small details. But yeah, then I go through and I paint his eyes. The covers of his eyes, I guess, yeah. The other thing too is Miles' suit. It's man, this model is kind of blended with a lot of different versions of him. So like the hoodie and jacket and stuff is very much like Spider-Verse and the original comic. But this suit design is more modeled on like the Miles' suit from the Sony Spider-Man game, which is fine. I enjoy that suit. But yeah, so it doesn't come with his like shorts. I know if he wears his hoodie and jacket, he wears his shorts. But that's fine for me. I enjoy the way that this turned out as is. I guess what I'm getting at here is that his web outlines on his mask and torso are also supposed to be red, but I did not paint them red. I do like that look. I just thought that on a small scale like this, it would just be maybe too much. But that is totally up to you if you want to paint that. I did not paint the webbing, and I think it looks great the way it is. I enjoy it. But I do know that is his kind of more designed look, is that the webbings are red on his black suit. That's kind of the point. But yeah, now I get to paint the only pair of Air Forces I'll ever have. And these are pretty fun to paint. So they just started with a white coat on everything, and then I just go through with some red and paint all the red bits. Yeah, so with red parts done, now I can take some gloss black and do the swoosh. So this is also pretty fun for me too, like getting to paint this little details on here. I really enjoy the fact that Miles wears these red Air Ones. I think that's pretty cool. It's like an iconic look with his suit. I just think it's pretty cool. And like I said, these will be the only pair that I ever own. Mostly just because I'm too old to wear Air Force ones now. They don't really look good on me. It looks like I'm trying to be a teenager again, but that's all beside the point. If you like them, wear them. That's just me, you know. And then so I go through with some matte black to do the laces. I figured the contrast between the gloss, shiny leather parts and the matte laces to look like, what the heck are laces made out of? Not cotton. Whatever they're synthetic. They're they're not shiny. That's my point. That's the whole point of what I'm talking about. But I just wanted that contrast between two different versions of the black on the shoes. And yes, painting the laces were time consuming and kind of a pain. So yeah. Then I can go through here and paint his suit the same matte black. When I sprayed his hoodie, I also sprayed his suit underneath all red because I always knew that I would rather go through with the black and paint around the spider logo and all that kind of stuff. And that worked out pretty good. And then any little spot I can just touch up later. But then I went through and I painted his entire suit. All the black parts I painted with that matte black. You can't really tell what's going on, but when this dries, it is very matte. It's very no gloss at all. You can see how the paint that I sprayed on there was supposed to be ultra matte, but it's really not. But at least spray painting it gave me a good base, gave me a good primer layer, and then you can just paint on top of that. And if this ever gets damaged or worn in any spots, at least underneath it is black too, so it just kind of looks like a tear in the suit or something like that. So that works out pretty good. There's a couple spots on here that are gloss black that I leave gloss black. It's like his belt detail and his knee bracers, so those stay gloss. Then I can go ahead and paint his lenses. Just give them a nice white. So then, moving on to this part. This is the part that I always dread, is like skin tones and that kind of stuff. I have very little expertise in skin tones. And this is also the first time I've painted darker skin tones. So I watched a few videos on this. And this is just kind of what I am trying to mimic. This is one of those things where it's like, trust the process. Because while you're doing it, it's like, oh man, I think I ruined it. I think it's too dark. So you just started with a dark brown on the whole face and everything. Then I went through with a darker brown, and you can see I'm kind of holding it in a way where I'm just spraying underneath his chin and hoping that it oversprays and goes up under his eyes and that kind of stuff. And then I mix up that same base brown with some white, and now I'm spraying it from the top down just to hit like the highlights of the forehead and the nose and that kind of stuff. And I probably overdid it a little bit, but then I went back through with that same base color that I used and just kind of hit everything again. And then when it dries, it looks a lot better than when it's wet. And I was pretty happy with how it turned out. I wasn't trying to make this look like ultra realistic. I'm trying to match that like comic style. And I was very happy with how his skin tone came out with the highlights and everything. And yeah, so then I could paint his eyebrows and his hair that same matte black color. This is always the fun part here, painting eyes. You put all that work into like the skin tone and getting that looking good, and then you gotta go in with white and make sure that you just get it on the actual like eyeball itself and not like the eyelids. It's very small. Even at this scale, this is not like a super small scale, but this is like the smallest I would want to paint like eye details and that kind of stuff. Then I paint his irises here with just this hazel brownish color that I have. And the important thing about this is just making sure that they're in the middle of the eyeball. You just kind of keep dabbing your brush until you get a circle, and then you can go through with some black and do the pupil in the middle. Then I mixed up a little bit of that base brown color with a little bit of pink, just to kind of get this lighter skin tone for his lips. Then we can move on to the base. So I'm just using some foam, some insulation foam. Buy this at Lowe's or Home Depot. You can buy full sheets of this stuff. And I have for bigger projects for the basement. But you can also buy like a little square of this. They call it like a hobby chunk, basically. And this will last you a while. I've used this for a little bit. I gotta buy some more. But what I'm doing is I'm just cutting a square, obviously, and sticking the hand in there. So everything on this model is held in place by this hand. That's why that support is so wide and long. This is one of the things where I was kind of worried that, like, if I didn't glue this all together, would this hand be able to support everything? But the answer is yes. It worked out fine. So I cut out two squares, one bigger than the other, and I'm trying to make this ledge style thing. I looked a lot of reference images of like roofs and that kind of stuff. The model came with a base, and I like never print bases that come with stuff. I enjoy making my own bases, but I also never really like love the bases that come with. I think this was like, it was like a chimney thing with like fire underneath, like an explosion, like a building explosion, and like it's fine, but it's not. I don't know. It wasn't really what I was going for. I wanted to make it kind of look like he was pole vaulting. There you go. Over like a roofscape, you know, like Spider-Man does. And I looked around for a lot of like reference images and kind of stuff, and I ended up finding this Spider-Gwen statue where she's doing like a handstand on this like corner of a roof, and I thought it looked pretty cool. So that's kind of what I'm basing it on. Is that kind of style. So I basically just make a few squares, and then I cut this piece at like a 45 angle to kind of give it this like architectural like edge to it. And then I cut out these thin pieces and I glue these to the bottom section just to give it a little bit of depth in between, just kind of building up layers. I think that worked pretty good. After you trim that stuff off, all the excess off, that's kind of what you're left with, is this kind of cool shape. And then this base here, I just take this sculpting tool and I just run it around and I create bricks pretty quickly. Basically just scratching that into the foam. And then I go around with a tinfoil ball and kind of rub it all over that. This adds texture. This breaks up the edges so it's not sharp edging. And this adds a lot of detail to your brick and concrete, that kind of stuff. And then yeah, I glue that on the bottom here. Glue it in the wrong spot, of course. So then I just move it before that glue dries. And then you can see that. So now it's like this brick building with this concrete, like ornate roof, which is the look I was going for. So I was happy with that. The top part here where we put his hand earlier, I'm just going around and doing this thin trim just to give it a little bit more depth and texture. And then I can glue that in place on top. And then I just dig out a little bit more of that hole for his hand, and then have his hand slide in there. Now this is a tight, like tension fit, which is great. You can see that Gwen statue on my phone up there in the corner. But yeah, then I just go through and I paint this entire thing matte black. Just give it a good base coat. What I'm doing is just base coating this, basically priming it. And also trying to get this paint in all the recesses and just get rid of the pink foam is really all I'm trying to do. Yeah. Next step is to paint this medium gray on all of the concrete parts, stone parts or whatever. So same deal with this. I'm just trying to give it just a base color that I can go through and dry brush on top of. Yeah, then I just have some of this light cream color here, and I was trying to just paint this whole thing one coat, and then try to keep this color in the gaps, so it kind of looked like the mortar for the bricks. But they didn't really super work. It just was. It was probably a mix of me being impatient painting it, not like waiting for it to dry, which also ended up helping me actually in the long run get a better finish on this, which is always funny. Yeah, you can see here I'm trying to dry brush the red on, and it's just like immediately going into the recesses anyway. So I just kind of go with it at that point. So I just dry brush a little bit heavier, do a little bit more heavier painting, and just kind of dabbing red all over the bricks, even like wet without dry brushing, and just trying to create a texture and dark spots, bright spots, that kind of stuff. Then I go in with some medium brown, and I just kind of dab that all over the brick too. Brick is not just red, it's got a lot of colors in it. It's got some browns and reds, even some oranges, that kind of stuff. So just trying to make it look not uniform, basically, is what I'm doing. And then I go through and I dry brush, I guess really heavily dry brush this concrete. Basically just keep rubbing my brush until it doesn't look like it's brush strokes, basically. So this is just some black and brown mixed up with a lot of water to make like a wash. And you can see I'm just kind of focusing on the cracks and recesses of this roof part here, anywhere that like water would build up and stay over time, and then you can kind of use your hand and just kind of blend it out. So this is the part here that I was saying that ended up helping with the paint of the bricks a little bit more. I started adding wash to the bricks in like just the grooves here, just the mortar lines basically. Then I started to dab it away, and as I was dabbing it, it was pulling the red off to that base light color we put on, and I was like, oh man, that actually looks good. So it looks like natural weathering. It looks like some of the outside of the brick was, wearing off from whatever, acid rain, that kind of stuff. So that's kind of what I did. I just gave it a wash and just kind of rubbed it all until it kind of gave me that pretty good tone. So that is it for the base. So let's put this together, and I will shut up and you can watch the end of this. I hope you guys enjoyed this last project of the year. Stay tuned till next year. We're gonna make some even cooler stuff, and I'll see you guys later.